Jai Guruji. Drinking from the cup of faith. Even if I am granted 1,000,000 tongues to talk about Guruji's grace, they will not be sufficient, as his blessings are endless. Endless too are incidents marked by his love and care towards his devotees. Since the day I got his darshan, I am learning from and about Guruji. Even today, when one hears of Guruji's blessings falling on someone, I find that everyone is just a child, a learner in front of him. A new beginning. It was August of 1998. My husband came back early from office and told me that he was joining his friend Wing Commander Chopra to go to Guruji's place. He was then a firm non-believer in saints and Mahapurush, and his decision came as a surprise. He left at around 6 in the evening and returned well past midnight. I was desperate to know how it all went off, so as soon as he settled down after coming home, I threw a volley of questions at him. Did Guruji deliver sermons, predict the future, or prescribe stones and mantras to pacify disturbances in life? My husband's answer were unexpected. He said that Guruji did not preach or sermonize, and that Shabats, the devotional song based on Guru Granth Sahib, were played in Guruji's mandir. We went to bed knowing my husband's nature. I considered his visit a passing affair. He won't even remember what would have happened the next evening. I thought, imagine my surprise the next evening when my husband called up from office to convey that he was leaving for Guruji's place and will be coming late. When he returned as late as previous night, I asked him a simple question. What pulled you back to that place? He had a simpler answer. What I got there is not something which can be explained. It is something that can only be experienced. In truth, our family decided to go Guruji's darshan the next evening. How's the Guru's door open? On my husband's third visit, my children and I accompanied him. We were 20-30 meters from Guruji's place and could smell a very strong fragrance. When we entered the hall where Guruji sat, the fragrance was all around us. The first thing that came to my mind was, the gentleman has put on so much perfume that the entire hall is filled with fragrance. He is probably a very hi-fi stylish Guruji. Even after my husband's description, Guruji's first darshan was stunning and different from my initial presumptions. Our share of unimaginable things was just about to go up. As soon as I got up after going to Guruji, he straight away asked in Punjabi, "Finally, you have come." A disciple of Gurgaon's saint. This was just a mild indicator of how he knew me inside out at my first visit to his place. For apart from our family, no one knew of the sant we had been frequenting. Chai Prasad, sips of faith. At Guruji's place, tea was the first and sometimes even the last refreshment served. I have been allergic to tea leaves since childhood. My mouth would fill with ulcers if I had tea in any form. However, as soon as we settled down in Sangat, a person came around offering tea. I was in a fix, and as I was not willing to say no to prasad, suddenly I realized that the person serving tea had skipped me. I was relieved. I was neither required to say no to prasad nor I was pushed to consuming tea. This instant relief was countered by a second thought. I had been deprived of prasad and thus the blessings of this holy place. All this happening within me. But the world outside was moving as if I was speaking aloud. Immediately the person serving tea turned back and offered it to me. This had me stunned since the person seemed to be responding to my internal conversation. Anyhow, the moment I came over the shock, I realized he was waiting for me to pick a glass. I immediately picked a glass and amidst resistance from other family members, drank a glass of tea. No mean feat to someone who had never had tea since early childhood. This was followed up by 2 or 3 more glasses in the span of next few hours that we spent at Guruji's place that day. We left Guruji's place at around 1 am. Next morning I expected to have great pain with my mouth full of ulcers. But my mouth was fresh as never before, with not a trace of the ulcers. Everyone was amazed. Till date, I can only drink tea without any ill effects at only one place in the world, at Guruji's temple. And I can drink it anywhere if Guruji's physical presence is around me. If I drink tea at home or another place, I end up with a sore mouth. This demonstrated the tremendous protective power of Guruji, turning a mere consumable to a healing prasad, which has the power of throwing disease and troubles away. Anything served at this place in his blissful presence can only serve as a tool of showering blessings and can never have a negative impact. After my initiation into the world of blissful tea drinkers, all of us in the family were in for another surprise. A fragrance, which I thought was that of the perfume which Guruji was wearing, began spreading in our living room. We were fascinated to get that fragrance in our home. Unable to comprehend anything, we enjoyed smelling it for the short while it lasted. It was only during subsequent visits that we realized that the fragrance comes naturally of Guruji and indicates his presence. Further events unfolded Guruji's Sharan in a pronounced manner. Every day turned miraculous. Guruji, a power above all others. There are good times and bad times in life. Happy times find you surrounded by people. But in the hour of grief, Guruji is the only one who stands by you and bails you out. Many people can be willing to support you, but all of them are helpless when the forces acting against you are beyond their control. But Guruji's unconditional support protects you against all odds. You have to bear the consequences of your karma, but in the divine refuge of Guruji, I have seen nature in a helpless position, since any punishment before reaching a follower of Guruji is either completely erased or lessened to a very high degree. This comes at the expense of Guruji, who bears the burden of our suffering. His tools to relieve you of trouble and suffering are varied, which is evident from the spectrum of experiences I have had. Once I had a severe headache while sitting in the Sangat. Its intensity was such that I was unable to eat or drink anything. Nothing was sinking in. Then suddenly I was summoned by Guruji. He told me that he had a severe headache and asked me to press his forehead for a few minutes. I returned to the place where I was sitting and suddenly realized my headache had disappeared. By asking me to serve him, he had relieved me of the headache. Once I had a terrible fever, which lingered for some time. Even after a lot of checkups and medication, the fever did not subside. With strong medicines, it took 2 weeks to come under control. But not for long. My fever developed a strange pattern. It used to be fairly normal during daytime, but with the coming of the evening, my temperature would rise. They continued for the next 4 weeks. Unable to reach a diagnosis, the doctors were helpless. All tests and prescriptions failed to yield a result. Then one day, Guruji asked my husband why I had been absent for such a long time from the Sangat. When Guruji was told of the reason, Guruji asked my husband to use 5 green chilies in the manner he prescribed. And that was it. The next day, my fever, my companion for over a month, disappeared, and I slowly regained my health. Thanks to Guruji, I survived another bout of fever. Along with my family, I had planned a visit to Guruji's Pade Mandir, though I was running a mild fever. But as we proceeded and reached the mandir, my condition deteriorated and the fever took an aggressive form. I was hardly able to get up rather unexpectedly. Guruji came to the mandir that day. Guruji's visit to the mandir in those days were rare, as some construction work was going on. Guruji told my husband and a Sangat member to prepare fresh lime water and give it to me, clearly stating that this will help cure the fever. The fever disappeared as if it was never there. Guruji knew of my state without anyone telling him and provided instant relief. No one else can extend such selfless support and care all the time, just by his word. The means Guruji uses to bestow his blessings are sometimes meant just for your consolation. For it had been seen that these are not required, since it's Guruji's power that makes it all happen. Physical tools used by Guruji are a means to let devotees feel they are receiving his attention. An insect bite on the toe led to a terrible pain, and the toe swelled up viciously. An ointment I used as suggested by a doctor was of no help. The doctor suggested minor surgery to avoid aggravation. But the same day, without my husband telling him, Guruji himself inquired about the insect bite, and that was enough. The bite grew less painful and the spot showed a marked improvement. In the next few days, it disappeared. Such as Guruji's powers. Even more surprisingly, he cured me of diabetes. It was detected way back in 1999 to 2000. Diabetes is conventionally a disease that can be suppressed but not cured. However, in my case, Guruji just shooed his away. In a few months, however, without medicines or treatment, purely with Guruji's grace, I was cured. Neither had we nor had Guruji mentioned the problem. Guruji's words, though said very casually, have a deep impact. They are in fact an order binding for the entire cosmos. And here is what happens when his command is taken lightly. When we started coming regularly, Guruji called my husband and told him to come only thrice a week, on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. We followed his instruction, but trying to compensate for the days we lost, we started leaving home earlier. One day we reached at 6 p.m. as against the scheduled time of 8 p.m. for the Sangat. Guruji then instructed us to reach at 8 p.m. And it so started happening that irrespective of the time we left, we would reach Guruji's place only at 8 p.m. Once we have left home at 5:30 p.m. but found a 25-kilometer distance to Guruji made agonizingly slow due to a spate of traffic jams. Finally, we reached at 8 p.m. But we recovered the same distance in half an hour when we were delayed and could depart home only at 7:30. Langar showers blessings. Our nature occasionally puts us into situations which later make us look silly. Once I was on a fast which required that I abstain from wheat products. My diet for that day comprised solely fruits. When we went to attend Guruji's Sangat, I decided not to go for langar. At all of it had chapatis and thought no one will know. More than 200 people had gathered that day and langar was given out in 6 rounds. But Guruji noticed that I did not have langar and specifically instructed me to go and have langar in the last round. Not daring to break the fast, I went to the first floor of the Empire State Mandir. The Sangat was then conducted on the ground and the langar was served on the first floor. And decided to sit in the corner and then go back to the Sangat hall. I had thus committed 2 blunders. One, I did not understand the meaning and the importance of Guruji's words, due to which I failed to obey instruction. And 2, I tried to deceive Guruji, not realizing that the omniscient eye is not hindered by the physical barriers. But as soon as I came back to Sangat Hall, Guruji gave me a hard stare and immediately asked me to have sweets for the distribution among the Sangat. He started distributing the prasad, and when it was my turn, he gave me more than twice than what he gave to others, as though compensating for the langar that I had skipped. Back home, when I ran through the whole sequence of the events in my mind, I realized my mistake. The message from Guruji was loud and clear. Don't skip langar. I only later realized that the prasad is Guruji's tool to shower his blessings. It is immaterial of its physical form and have given any opportunity should be grabbed with both hands, as these blessings are too precious to miss. Guruji comes between a truck and our car. My husband and I were on our way to the satsang from Noida. But we got stuck at a particular traffic light that went red for the third time running. We were still, however, only within sniffing distance of clearing it. So as soon as the light turned green, my husband accelerated. There was a high-body truck right in front of our car, which also accelerated initially, but then came to a halt. This left my husband with no reaction time. He could sense a collision. Suddenly, I saw Guruji in front of the car and screamed, "Guruji!" It took us a few moments to regain our senses. When we got out of the car after a while, we saw the car had moved underneath the truck body but had not been damaged. The car's bumper was just inches from the truck tire. I realized why Guruji had appeared in front of the car. Had he not, we could not have avoided the accident. Even more surprising was what happened when my husband was sharing this experience with one of the Sangat members. He had barely narrated how I was seeing Guruji in front of our car, and when the lady he was sharing our experience with suddenly inquired if our car was a blue Maruti 800. My husband said yes. The devotee then clarified that she had seen the incident in her dream. She added that she clearly saw Guruji coming right in between the car and that truck. It was hair-raising to hear her account. No one can escape his eye. Once Guruji summoned me and asked me to fetch a person. Since I did not know the man, he told me that he was fat and sitting right behind the pillar. On my way, I was wondering how is it possible to identify a single person with just these two clues. But I found only a single fat person sitting in that whole area, and I conveyed Guruji's call to that person. This just indicated how clearly Guruji was able to see through the world to its other side. Guruji can, if he wishes, to clearly spell out what had happened in the past, what is happening around the globe at present, and how the future would be. When my children, a daughter and a son, were still in school, Guruji once mentioned casually that both the kids will get job in Siemens. At that point of time, it was hard to believe this. But finally, after 6 years, the same came true, when both children started their respective careers with Siemens. Similarly, it was sometime in the year 2000 that Guruji told me that my daughter's marriage will take place in year 2005. And that's how it actually turned out to be. She got married on 30th April 2005. Experiences in Shiva's heaven. Guruji's Bade Mandir is a very special place. Located at the edge of the capital city, you tend to forget the worldly trouble in its atmosphere of the virgin purity. For me, it is the only place where, irrespective of Guruji's physical presence, I can have tea anytime and any number of times. But this probably is indicative of just the most minutest fraction of the mandir's power. If one believes only what he or she has experienced, I have to believe in the existence of the supreme power at this place. Once I was granted an opportunity to visit the mandir along with my family. Typically, whenever we visit the mandir, every member of the family moves around freely irrespective of what other members are doing. So shortly after reaching the mandir in the forenoon hours, we went on to one of the rooms of the Guruji just to check if some dusting or cleaning was required there. The room have a very beautiful statue of Lord Shiva, which shows him sitting with folded legs, showering blessings on the followers. We had been watching the perfectly crafted statue since the day we started coming to mandir. But that day, the darshan of the statue sent a chill down my spine. I was shocked to witness that the face had turned about 60 degrees to the right. I gathered everyone in the mandir and everyone saw this. It was even more surprising to see the statue regain original form slowly over the day. By evening, it had almost reverted to its usual front-facing posture. Truly a hard-to-forget incident. Then Holi, the festival of colors of year 2006, had something special in the store. In the morning, when we reached the mandir, everyone took up some cord and the other, and I, along with our neighbor Sangeeta, started cleaning Lord Shiva's brass idol in the main hall. The polish for this metal, known as brasso, was applied to the idol. It was then rubbed twice with a clean cloth. I was cleaning off the brasso while Sangeeta had to give it a final finish. I was through with the upper half. The idol was clean and just needed a final finish. Sangeeta had hardly started the task when she pointed out there was some color between the snakes wrapped around the neck of the Lord Shiva. Since I had just cleared that area, I turned to check this. A streak of color caught my eye. Then, gathering myself, I called everyone else in the mandir to have darshan of this miracle. The colors, which acquired various shades during the day, were seen by everyone who visited the mandir that day. All these incidents reflect Guruji's powers. But he is much beyond these mysterious miracles which come to light. His powers are beyond our comprehension. With my hands folded in prayer, I would just like to thank Guruji for all that he has given me and request his continued grace on the entire Sangat. Satsang of Gauri Singla, wife of R.P. Singla. Jai Guruji.